Hey, Nickolaus, Darko is here. All right, so I got your email. Well, when you did send to me, I was probably sleeping already. So I'm answering now, and I think you're still gonna have a lots of time to work on it. So no problem there. Let's see what actually you are concerned about in the email. So here we go. I'm trying to understand the issues you mentioned. Um, the issues you're trying to understand. Okay, so the issues are that the fundamentally the scene is not done correctly. Now, what that means? That means that if you did send me this play blast, what you did send me now with auto, I would say it looks really good. You know, like look, I was looking your scene before I started recording, of course, and I really like your sense of timing. Although there is a few places where you can improve it, but still, I think timing is cool, and the acting part is also nice. I mean, I get it what's happening, and I can almost feel the emotions of the guy. So that's good. But like I said, under the skin, under the hood, there is a problem. This is like a how to explain it. This is like, for example, you go to used car dealership and you really see a car that you really like, right? And it's shiny, beautifully polished. You turn on, it's great running. Sounds good. And of course, the seller is like, hey man, this is great deal. Today I'm giving you like a 50% off. Of course, you should ask yourself, why is he giving me 50% off? There must be something wrong, right? And you would be right. Because if you buy that car, you will figure out that actually is using so much oil that every day you have to add another pint of oil, or something will go terribly wrong. You understand? Something is wrong with the engine. Something is wrong with maybe a skylight. It's leaking every time when it rains. You have a water in your car. That's exactly what is happening here. From outside, if you are looking at this play blast, it looks really good. But if you open the hood, oh boy, right? So, what I'm trying to say is that this scene, I hope, will be something that you will remember and something that you will kind of learn your lesson. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We all have those moments where we experience something and we're like, oh, I'm going to remember this for future. I don't want to make that a mistake again. And that's good. So basically, what I'm trying to say, and I think I was saying that last time in that critique video yesterday I did, is the basic principle of animation is, here is a timeline, right? This timeline in Maya on the bottom. Here's the frames. Of course, here's the first frame. You go on first frame, boom. You make a pose, whatever that pose is, right? When you make the pose, you can right away select all controls and key it, or you can go next pose, next key, next pose, here, then here and there, blah, blah. When you're done with the keying, then you do breakdowns, right? Okay, now I'm done, right? What I am supposed to do now is go from the frame one, and if you have those two buttons, select all means you select all controls, select all controls, and then second button is key all controls. That way, every single control that has to be keyed on the character is keyed, right? And why is that important? Is because if you will have to move certain frames down the road, left or right, it will be so easy because there is really nothing complicated to do. All what you have to do is select controls on certain keys that you want to move, and you just move them left or right. Because usually in the studios, if you're going to be working in some, and that's what we want you, right, to work in studio, very often, more often than not, your scene will not be approved from very first, attempt. You will get notes from director, and he might say, okay, this action that is happening here, and that might be, I don't know, frame 17 here, right? I want that to happen later, on frame 37 or 27. So basically, you have to move these keys down the road for maybe 10 or 20 frames. Doesn't matter. But if you have all these keys keyed, right, all controls, so basically all what you have to do is you select the keys and you move them, and you're done. But if you didn't key all, just like you didn't when you were showing me yesterday what I was looking at, then how are you going to move it if you have a keys? Let me see, here the frames, right? And then you have these keys, but the body is keyed here, but arm is keyed on frame before. The head is keyed on 2 frames later. How you select that and move, that is so complicated suddenly. And that is main reason why we are, having this principle of simple blocking and making animation, where once when you make a pose, key all controls on it. There is only one reason where actually you're going to be selecting certain body parts and key them on different frames, but I wouldn't even go in there in that field because I don't want to confuse you. But once when you become really solid animator and when you have a confidence and all that stuff, then you're going to be probably doing this way. The same what I just said, right? All keys, everything is keyed all. So now when you are 100%, I'm talking about 100% here, 100% sure that this is it. I have nothing else to do. I really like the scene, and also director approved my scene. Now, as you save that scene, so you have a safe version. And then what you can do actually is you select only arm, and then you can move just arms, just for example 1 or maybe 2 frames before or after, usually after, so that arm would be trailing behind the body for 1 or 2 frames, probably not more, it would be weird, so that nothing would really travel at the same time, at the same speed. We would, as we call it, we would offset some body parts by 1 or 2 frames. You can select all heads, right? And then move it just like 1 frame behind. So body moves first, and then 1 frame behind is a head movement. And it's something that we don't really see it, but it's more what we actually feel it. Animation suddenly becomes like a polished, it really becomes like, really looks nice how the characters are moving with that little delays on certain body parts. But this is something that once when you get very confident about, right? up to now, what you're doing right now, this is where you are supposed to be focusing, right? So when you are creating your animation, make a pose, key all controls. Next pose, key all controls. So when you click on let's say a hip, you have certain keys on timeline. And if you click on the head control, the same keys, nothing changes here, no changes. If I click on the wrist, again, same keys. If I click on the on chest, the same keys. There is no changes, right? The same set of keys. All right, so that would be what I had to say about the principle how to do it. Now, let me take a look at your letter. So I hope that you understand the issue, the problem that there is. I understand that the first half of a half is better looking, and the second half is not better than the second half. Well, okay, you can say that, but you know what I'm really trying to address now is that problem that you have, that technical problem. The reason for the isolated movement was because I was trying to show drag and overshoot. You see, that's the thing. To make drag and overshoot is fine, but not the way how you were doing. You cannot just select one body part and move it like you were doing, for example, with the arm. Everything is in hold. You grab the arm control and you move it, trying to create drag. Now, drag you create by making breakdowns, right? So, for example, you have one key here. Let's say that's a guy with a I don't know. He wants to point forward with his finger to this guy, right? So this is first key. The second key, maybe I should change the color. Second key would be, of course, you're not just gonna move the arm. Maybe he's going closer to the guy. Maybe he's trying to be more threatening, right? So he's going closer and he's like, you buddy. So this is a key maybe on frame, I don't know, let's say 9. So now to create overlap, which color we should use? So to create overlap, you choose one of the in-betweens, because for creating breakdowns it's good to actually move in auto just for that purpose, to get in-betweens. So when you get those in-betweens, you choose one, maybe let's say that middle one here, middle one is going to be somewhere here in the middle, right? So body will be traveling forward because Maya is now, because it's in auto, it's giving you in-betweens, and that in-between will be somewhere around middle if you chose the middle in-between. But to create overlap, what we can do is maybe, of course, Maya is going to give you that head is going to be right in the middle between these two heads, but we can move head a little bit back. See, so we're going to create overlap on the head. It's going to be kind of trailing a bit back, and the head and the hand, instead of just going straight forward, why not to have actually this hand to go a bit maybe like higher with a pointing finger back, you know, like there is a basically action in the wrist. So it's gonna go from here to there and then there, right? So this one, orange, will be somewhere in between. I don't know, maybe 5 or so. That's gonna be breakdown. But you don't grab just you know, you have a body and then you grab a arm and move on next frame, for next pose, you just move the arm. Because then you have here new key on a new frame just for arm, but body is keyed on other frame. So if you have to move it in a timeline, then you get yourself in the trouble. Okay, so what is the next? I have a play blast in auto, Maya file, and scene sketch link attached. Okay, once it's in auto, there is not much isolated movement, and I agree. And like I said, if I didn't know, if I saw only this play blast with auto, I would say like, wow, it looks really good. And also, yes, you have to add some hip movements. And I'm thinking to scrap the whole thing. Please, no. There is no need to scrapping this thing all, throwing in a garbage, because it is salvageable. It's not bad as you think. What you can do is, okay, I'll tell you what you can do. Let me close this thing down. So basically, you go to your Maya, right? And well, what you have to do is, I mean, it really looks like you have lots of poses, because they are like frame or two apart. That usually is too much, because that can give you kind of like a jittery a movement, because Maya does not have time, basically chance, to smooth it out, because there is no in-betweens in between. But yes, you are right. Hips are like not moving, because I can see that this control here is not being used. So if you would just use that control just for hip, it will not affect upper part, what is really good. So what you can do is just move tiny bit, and you see suddenly there is movement, and it looks like actually I like it in opposite or something like that. Yeah, but you see how it's suddenly moving, right? Here is not moving, so we can just move it a bit, and there again it's moving. Now he's not moving here, but it's so easy. Look, just tiny bit of movement. There you go. So with this control, you can fix the hips. The rest, most of is actually working. This arm, for example, it feels a little bit dead, kind of stiff. So I would probably maybe not even that much. You know, it just needs a little bit of movement. Maybe a little bit. This one is frozen, as you can see, so it needs a bit of movement. So even a little bit is enough. For example, if he feels a little bit stiff here, you see, so you could move a little bit of spine controls, and also when he moves back and then he just changes facial expressions, but it would be nicer if actually he moves his head also wrong key. So here is more like this. Okay, so let's go from here. He's looking at it. He goes in anticipation. In anticipation, I would maybe make him here. I would make a drag, you see, down, and then as he's going back, he basically still have a head down. That's why we are creating overlap, and then up. But now, you see, we move this more back. Ha, 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 ha. So when he's pushing this hand away, let's create overlap, see? Oops. What did I select? Oh. So now the problem is, that you have keys on separate frames, right? So if you look at the red marks for keys on timeline, now I'm gonna select hips. You see how they changed. If I select this control, it changes. If I select the other arm, it changes. It's a different one arm than other arm. So this is constantly changing, and it shouldn't, right? What I was saying, if you are keying everything on one pose, then does not matter what you select. You can select any of these controls. The same set of keys is always on the same frames. That's what is important. Okay, so what I would do basically is I would go on frame 1, for example, and I would select all controls and I would key it all. If you have mel button for it, that's great. If not, I think just a S button would work for it. And then just next key all. Next key all. Next key all. Next key all. Key all. Go through all scene and keying all. Then you might see some of the keys that are just not really necessary. You might actually delete them. First, play your animation and see if there is any jerkness into it, kind of like zigzagging and that kind of stuff, because Maya wasn't able to do it nicely smooth, because there is just a one key next to the other key. There is no in-between. So Maya wasn't able to connect it nicely and smoothly. So if it's necessary, you can actually delete some not unnecessary keys. But first, what you're supposed to do, just select all keys and key them all. That would be a solution for this problem. So let's see once again. Let me take another look now with the auto mode. All right, so this part is fine. Maybe this arm can, let's say, come on the lap sooner, because right now you see how this animation, the action on fingers, is ending exactly at the moment when the other arm touches the head. Look. And everything stops at the same moment. So if you would delay the hand so it comes just a bit later, that would be great. That's what I was talking about, how people, animators, once when they have everything is in order, then they would select the arm on that part and they would move it back for frame or two, so that arm arrives frame or two later. Here this hand feels a little bit stiff because there is no really change in the wrist here. So as the arm is going up, you could rotate this hand a bit down, you know, a bit down. I think that would fix that flexibility there. I don't know, is that the part where you were supposed to just move a little bit this hips, maybe in a rotation X, because I can see that the torso is going back, so the it has to affect a hip somehow. The hip cannot stay there, not being moved. This hand comes to stop too suddenly. There is no slowing in, slowing out, because that is now one of the primal focuses to work on slowing in, slowing out, and also keeping nice arcs, moving holds. When he is going up from that down squash position, he goes up. Yeah, there is something, he doesn't go simply up, he goes whoop. What is this? Can we get rid of this bump? Look at once again. Ooh, ooh. It would be nice if he just goes from down up in that simple swipe. But what I'm trying to say is that as he gets up, he shouldn't just arrive to this point, right? As he's going up, he hits the point, and then he has to return a bit to the real position. So this higher position is, as we call it, overshoot, right? Or if you think that you really want to have him here on this level with this pose, then you have to go a little bit higher as he's coming from down, right? So this, first he's gonna go a little bit higher, and then he's gonna go down to settle on this, right? Then he's gonna go moving down a bit. Here he could go actually in a little bit bigger anticipation because he is planning to go really high. So why not to actually go even a bit lower down? Exaggerate a bit here, you know? And then he would go up. And then this part seems to me a little bit too slow because he is off the ground with both feet. So it's a kind of hop, and it feels a little bit slow-mo. And then after he hits the ground, boom, I would probably go even more down with him to have a little bit more of this movement, you know? So more down. When he hits up, this part has to be faster. Go a little bit more down here, and that should, I think, fix the problem. All right, so I'm not gonna go any further. I think I hope I actually touched all. I mean the problems that you were concerned about. If you have any additional questions, let me know. All right, so yeah, that's it. Okay, man. Good luck, and I hope you're gonna, learn some of the things. Usually, we have to go through some hardship in order to learn the lesson, and then we remember it for pretty much forever, right? So if you don't pay too much price for that lesson, it's good. It's good. That's how we learn. Good luck, man. Thank you.